Hello and welcome to Life Daily with Dawn. During the first 12 days of April, I've been guided to share with you a video series that I'm calling Diamond Dimensions. And we're going to, at the beginning of each of these videos, I will leave this introduction. So if you are watching this and have already seen the introduction, you can look below for the timestamps or just skip forward to the new content for each day. So what is this series about? In this series, we're going to be discussing 12 facets of change and how we will be changed forever as one common family of humanity in the passage through the next 7 years, 2020 through 2027. Now, this series is a preparation, and yet whenever it is that you come across it, trust that timing and that there is something here for you, because we all are undergoing this process of transformation on an individual level and a collective level broadly, globally, and then within various communities of belonging, the timing may be slightly different. So I will be discussing it in terms of this 7-year period, but just know that this is appropriate at any point that you might encounter it, and there's probably something here for you. So these 12 patterns of potential, or these 12 facets of change, are gateways to our collective soul story, how we see ourselves, who we see ourselves as in terms of humanity, and where we are acknowledging those the ways that we are co-creating a tapestry of timeless truths and weaving the world together. So the 12 patterns of potential, or the 12 facets of change, are both a collective clearing and a reset. They're revealed fully as we allow that the play of light, of God or spirit, life, and the flow of light and life and love through us. When we allow that to move through us and be revealed fully, individually and collectively, when we have cycled through them through this 7-year period or in our own timing, they will allow, they being the 12 dimensions and the 12 facets of change, those will support us and will allow for us to step into the creation of a new society, and they will help us to find a whole new way forward together as we step into a new era rich in love. So to discuss these 12 patterns of potential, I'm going to share 12 C symbols. C, S-E-A, stands for Soul Essence Art. I'm not going to take the time to go into all of that here, but you can get a brief overview of what Soul Essence Art is in terms of the intuitive creative process that I developed for myself by taking a look at my art website at dawnrichersonart.com. I'll put the link below. But these 12 C symbols were given to me around the 15th of March as a way to support us collectively as we can connect with these 12 points of change and anchor in the light that we are, preparing for the collective transition ahead. So this is a common way that Spirit communicates with me, often giving me anchor points, if you will, either in terms of these symbols, as it was in this case, or through various what I call seeds for life, or little connecting points that I then am able to interpret and share with you. And I don't interpret these until I'm sharing them with you, so I really have no plan yet of what I'm going to say during these 12 days. I just trust Spirit to guide me each day. So what I know is that there is a much broader message here for us collectively. And this is a really pivotal time, a very exciting time, although so much appears to be and is in fact collapsing. And that must happen so that we can create this new society and create what some would call the new earth, and step into a whole new way of seeing ourselves, a whole new way of being ourselves, and a whole new way of freeing ourselves. And that, again, happens individually and collectively. So in terms of the C symbols themselves, if you want, to kind of get another version or experience of how that works for me, you can take a look at my book, Energetic Perspectives, which is available on Amazon. And that's actually a really good resource right now because it's a soul activation coloring book or activity book with just very, very simple C symbols that were given to me back in, I believe, 2014, 15, somewhere around there. And that will help you to connect individually to the light and the life and the love you are at your core through the clearing of energetic blocks or patterns that are not of life, that do not support you as you come to life and live in full expression, but rather have blocked some aspect of growth and change for you. So in terms of this video series, though, we're going to be looking at these 12 C symbols, and those are the portals to the larger patterns of potentiality that are emerging now in these 7 years ahead. During the first 5 days of our series, we are looking at the interior star of wonder. Now, STAR is another acronym that I use for your soul's truth and radiance. And this star shape in the center of the diagram that you can see at the beginning of these videos, within this larger star shape that is the central wheel of the image of the 12 dimensions, are 5 points that are also 5 wheels. I'm going to talk about them in terms of 5 wheels, even though they're not depicted that way on the diagram. It was getting a little complex, and so I wanted to keep it simple. But these wheels, these are 5 wheels within a wheel that are now in motion in this 7-year period, and they will move us into greater meaning and movement and forward momentum as we navigate what I call the Great Return, and this awakening, this collective transformation that we are undergoing right now. This great return, it's a return to wholeness, and that happens again individually and collectively. And this great return is a remembrance that at our collective core, at the core of humanity and what it means to be human, is light and life and love. And for many, many thousands of years, that we have not seen that, perhaps longer. And instead, we have operated from a different paradigm, and it has led us to decay and disillusionment and disunity, I would say. And so it's a reclamation, a radical reclamation and a radiant realization. It's a radical reclamation of who we are collectively together on the way, and a radiant realization of and a new awakening to what can be and where it is we are headed and what we each have to offer and what collectively we want to give birth to in this new era rich in love. So the turning of these 5 wheels will set us on a new trajectory that again it's what some refer to as New Earth, and it's, however you look at it, it's a new experience, a new human experience. Again, a whole new way of seeing ourselves, a whole new way of being ourselves together on the way, and a whole new way of freeing ourselves in the whole of humanity. So one thing is certain, by the close of 2020, the first year in the 7-year cycle, and certainly by 2027, the culmination of the 7-year cycle, we are going to see how humanity itself will be changed forever. I'm going to save the details of this for our last 7 days during this 12-day series, but we're going to take a look at the 7 wonders of the soul: faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and beauty, and those how those relate to the last 7 dimensions of change or expansion. It's also about radiant expansion from within the soul of humanity. So in terms of the first 5 days and that star of wonder, in the center of this larger diamond experience, these diamond dimensions that are held together as one, in the center of the 7 years, to prepare us for the 7-year transition, are these 5 wheels within a wheel, the 5-pointed star of wonder. And again, that represents our true power as one people, our soul's truth and radiance, the soul of humanity that resides at the very core, at the very heart of humanity, and humanity being filled with every good and perfect gift streaming down from the Father of Lights, from the the great creator, from life itself. If you're not, a person of faith or religion, that's fine. From life itself, it is the very substrate of who we are. And that is the structure on which this new era, rich in love, will be built. So within the center of the star are the 5 wheels in motion. And the way I see them is it's not just a flat in motion rotating, it's that, but also the spinning sphere. So they're spherical, not just flat wheels. These wheels within a wheel represent the turning of the tides of time. And the turning toward, it's a turning back to the sacred wholeness of who we are together. And it is a turning forward as well, from the moment of the now toward, again, this new era, rich in love. So the 5 wheels we'll be looking at are the wheel of reordering, the wheel of restructuring, the wheel of remembering, the wheel of recreation, and the wheel of radiance. Welcome back, everyone. And today we are talking about the Wheel of Radiance, the 5th of the 5 wheels within a wheel. And these C symbols that we've been discussing really have, I am seeing more and more as I speak about each one each day, how connected they are and how interrelated they are. And I am seeing them, just as I did originally, as, again, moving back and forth along the axis, each one of them moving to the forefront when they are most needed in the period of the 7 years ahead, and really forever, because what I'm seeing is that these 5 wheels are like the central structure. They are what sustains that sacred home and that portal for us to toward the liberation and the elevation of our lives. And so these 5 wheels within a wheel, again, are moving in and out as needed into society to the forefront. And then they are also the entire wheel that the 5 wheels are contained within is always rotating, just like our Earth or a planet would rotate on an axis. And in addition, the 5 wheels, as they are moving out along their individual trajectories or axes, are also rotating, and they are speaking, and they are in harmony and communication with one another. And this C symbol today has spoken to me most about that particular aspect of how this works, the 5 wheels within a wheel, and how they will support us in our creation of a new society, new societal systems and structures rooted in love that we will co-create together in the years ahead. And so as you look at this C symbol, the name of it is Coordinated Collaboration. And again, it's the Wheel of Radiance. And appropriately, it has this, sun-like center with a hollow open space, or what looks to be an opening into something more, and that's intentional. And the center, there are these 8 little, very faint, I'm not sure if you can see them depending on how large you're looking at this, but very faint infinity symbols that are around the circumference of that inner circle. And then there are these rays moving outward, and then you see, if you look just at the darker lines in this C symbol, you see that then there are these interesting, playful little spring-like figures that look like they're dancing or jumping, or shoots that are coming out with little triangular heads, and so I don't know. It's just the way I was guided to draw this one, but it's reminiscent to me of a springing to life from the inspiration of that love that is at the core. And you'll notice the background, again, is very nest-like, very woven, very similar to several of the other of the 5 wheels that we've been looking at in the opening to this 12-day series. And there's a ribbon-like nature to it, and there's a flexibility to the entire what I see as representing society. There's a new flexibility, and there are patterns that are replicated throughout. For example, you'll see the 8 inner infinity signals then are replicated by the 8 rays of the sun, and then in the 8 beginning flowers type spaces within this circular nest within the more petal-like structures that come out, and then you see the figures, what appear to be, you know, like human or life forms of some kind, that are leaning over, and then the triangular shape is right over these petal-like structures, which speak to me of nourishment and again, a common source, and a strengthening, and there's a coherence to this particular C symbol. So what does this represent? So it's the wheel of radiance, and again, the sun, you know, really speaks to that. And these figures that are springing out are finding their sustenance from that love and light and life that is at the core of the individual system that's represented here, and of society itself, and of all of humanity. And so this wheel of radiance, and it's named coordinated collaboration, speaks to a replicated pattern, as many of the C symbols do, and it in particular speaks to coordination and collaboration. And so the word, and I just mentioned coherence, and so the with, so it is coming together with others so that we can create positive change in our world. And this idea of coordinated is really, really strong in this C symbol. It's not just, you know, often we describe joint ventures and partnerships as collaborative. And we use words like collaboration, collaborative, cooperative, and we use those words loosely. But in fact, in many of the things that have been described as that to date, there is still an inherent often unspoken hierarchy. And we are moving beyond that into an era where there will be actually a very beautiful and synchronistic coordination to operate or to be I should have looked up the meaning of coordinate. Go look that up after this recording, or maybe I'll put it below. But there's going to be a new level of, we're going to understand that much more deeply, and we're going to bring it to life in our systems and structures that we create. There will be a coordination, even a sequencing at times, but again, not driven by a hierarchical structure or an authority or a external demand upon the system, but rather will rise up from within and be a natural rhythm of change that is consistently creative. That is not, it's the opposite really of what we have called coordination within organizations many times. That's not to say there hasn't been anything creative or innovative. Certainly that's not the case. But these new systems and structures that we will create will have a new level of beauty and sophistication, which we have spoken about earlier. So the wheel of radiance is this dimension of change that will ripple out into our world in the years to come, is about a couple of things. I just mentioned the coordination of efforts across systems and structures, or I actually was talking about it within one system, but it will also happen across many systems. And so there will be an open conversation with other systems that are related, and all are related in the sense that they are working for the upliftment of society, groups within society, and individuals, but from the standpoint that all are already naturally designed to thrive, rather than this survival mentality that leads to sort of this idea that certain groups must be saved or helped because they are other than. I wrote about these ideas that are outdated in a book that I wrote a long time ago called To Sin by Silence. I wrote it in the 1990s, and I would write it differently if I wrote it today, but the ideas there are that, there are 7, I call them conspiracies of silence, but basically one of them was, like looking down on a group within society as if, they need our help, and we make ourselves to be, gods really. And many systems have played into this type of approach. And so in the future, there will be a reorientation to the understanding that all of life is meant to thrive naturally and will thrive, in fact, when they are not shackled by outdated and or outright what's the opposite of confining, I would guess is the best word, confining structures or rules and regulations that really only serve an elite group and or a chosen few within society. So that is really changing, and the Wheel of Radiance will be a big part of that in the years to come, because the Wheel of Radiance is something that is going to be a template or a pattern of potential that will ripple out, and it will change all of us. It will fundamentally change the way we see each other and the way we see the world and the way we see groups which we might have demonized and or pushed away or found really in some cases we have formed these ideas and pitted one thing against the other, and that is going to be no more in the years ahead. So this coordinated collaboration goes beyond each system into all of society, and there is a fluidity and a flexibility and the ability to change shape and form within systems, and the ability to reach out. I believe that's why these figures, if you notice, they look like they're little springy figures that could stretch really far, okay? And that's intentional, because there will be places where one system will bridge with another for a particular time or a particular purpose, and then there may be another changing of form where a part of a system will not be so needed, and so it will fold and stretch to help another part. If you notice, if you lengthen these external figures and you imagine, they could even fold over to the other side of this Wheel of Radiance. They could reach to another star-like wheel structure that would represent another system. They could bend in many different directions, and so this flexibility is super important, as is the coordination of efforts across systems and structures, and then within each system and structure. The other big thing that this speaks to me about is a reorientation from rugged individualism and exclusivity to open community and inclusivity. So again, community is something we've talked about a lot within systems, and some systems are actually even designed to support community, purportedly. and yet, even within those systems, there is actually the in some cases, the cult of celebrity, and I don't just mean entertainment celebrities here, but I mean within each system. We elevate individuals or particular causes within each system, and in a way that is really abhorrent, and it is absolutely diametrically opposed to the values of that system. And it happens everywhere in every system of society. And so we are going to undergo in the years ahead a reorientation from this idea of the celebrity hero and or elite, even elitism in terms of ideas and people and the way things are done. And there's going to be, rather than that exclusive, some people refer to that as the old boys club, all the way down to, well, I'm not going to go into that, but you guys, I think, understand what I'm saying. So there is a movement from exclusivity to inclusivity of ideas, people, energy. But again, there is absolutely a protection of the system. And I will say that to me, the shape that the individual forms are in at the current, in their current state, is very much like a half of a fleur-de-lis, which is a symbol of love and freedom. And that's intentional, I think, here. I know it. It's actually, I didn't know it when I drew it because I didn't even think about it, but I know that that the nod to eternal love and life is, along with the sun shape, and the nest in the background again, and the flower, all of those are intentional, and they are a reminder of opening to the world, and they are a reminder of loyalty to, and truth and honor. And in addition to this shift from exclusivity to inclusivity, this entire wheel of radiance or coordinated collaboration C symbol speaks to open systems design, and that being a much more prevalent template that is active as we move forward into the 7 years ahead and beyond. There's also a nod to thriving through diversity. And it's interesting because actually I'm not sure that I can point to any one thing in this particular symbol that speaks to that, other than perhaps the variety of the forms. So if you look at the one form that's bending over, spring-like form, and then what I described as the petals earlier, that could represent actually a different individual being or group. And so I'm sorry, this is hard to talk about because these work on a lot of different levels. It's not just about one system, it's about many systems and society itself. It's also about the people within each system. And so back to those. So look at the spring-like form, and it almost has sort of like it's flexible, but other than that, it has a very masculine kind of appearance, this sort of like, again, interesting flexibility, but reminiscent of metal. And then you look at the other form, and there's, it almost looks like a little dress, and then the triangle could be the head of either of the two. And I think that is also symbolic, because this idea of thriving through diversity and respect and honor of differing viewpoints and approaches is a part of the structures and systems that will thrive in the years ahead. And that you can look at that very simply in terms of masculine and feminine, and in terms of actual men and women, male and female, but also in terms of approaches to societal needs and responses. How will we respond? And the systems and structures of the past have been often reactive, sprung up in reaction to a particular need in a particular time, and then really remained focused on that and not grown and changed and evolved and become what they could have become. And so now there will be a respect and honoring for the new approaches that rise up from that core of love, and the core values from within any given system or structure. So there will be a thriving through diversity and an honoring of all perspectives, and the determination for what approach is most beneficial at any given time comes from the root structure from the core values, but from the connectedness in love and the ability to respond in love, with love, through love. There's also within this C symbol a nod to a commitment to excellence through the elevation of sustainability, and that sustainability being represented by the ribbon-like structure that emanates from the rays of the sun, and then, comes into that flower petal or that feminine form, however you see it. I see a couple other things, there, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And there's a commitment to excellence and innovation. And how does that excellence and innovation come to the forefront? It's through sustainability. It's through that rest that is, and the restoration that is in that central circle, where the sun is, and where these eight little buds represent to me, like a system's core values or principles, and then the resting in that is what one does in terms of the system itself as it is serving. And there is a time that is required for an ebb and a flow, a movement into rest and restoration, and then a movement outward to bring new innovations and ideas to society. And the excellence that a particular system or structure is able to achieve is dependent upon and connected to the degree to which they rest in the sustainable structure at the core of that system. And this entire thing we're talking about is to a new approach to the core of all systems and structures. The last thing I'll mention in this particular Wheel of Radiance and the coordinated collaboration C symbol is that radiant expansion from within is a hallmark of the systems and structures of our future. And that radiant expansion from within occurs through the full expression of core values of the system and of the love, and individual and unique expressions of that one light and life and love we all are. So within systems now, we see one another working in the system. We see those that are particular service assists, and we see all of humanity through the lens of the light and the life and the love we are at the core. And the expansion of the system itself happens from within the system and from within that core of love through the full expression of core values. Now, also, that means that those who have ideas and innovations that are aligned with the core values of a particular system will be magnetized to it through that central sun, and those ideas and innovations will be attracted to the system and be able to be brought into that nest for a time for rest and restoration, and then that innovation occurs because there is a preparation that is valued within the systems of the future. And that expansion then happens, and there's a full flowering and a movement toward flourishing humanity through sustainable systems. It's sustainable systems for flourishing humanity. That's the phrase I was given way back, and I started using it in 2008 or so when I didn't even know what it really meant. And it's something that I see as just so beautiful in terms of what we will co-create in the future as we move forward together. So take a look at the keywords and ideas in the blog post or below the video. And this concludes the 5 wheels within a wheel, the Star of Wonder, which is the very core of the 12 dimensions of change, the 12 facets of change that we are moving through in the years ahead. And tomorrow I will be back, and we will begin to speak about the 7 years ahead, the 7 gates of transformation, the 7 wonders of the soul. And I did a series just before this called Passage to a New Society, where I talked about this in one way, and we're going to explore it a little bit more deeply. I'm not exactly sure. They may be shorter videos. I know many of you are like, "Yay, I might listen," but they also I might just speak like this. What I have said is that after I complete these 2 video series, I will come back, and if at all possible, I will create some sort of synthesis of these ideas and make it available or accessible to you. So look for that in the future. I thank you so much for listening to these recordings, and take care wherever you are. And as I'm speaking about systems and structures within society and the big sweeping changes that are coming, remember that this all begins on the individual level. Change happens from the inside out, and that you are here to bring forward a particular play of light. You are here to share your essential story of life. You are here to be a revolution of love and to bring forward and usher in a grace-filled revolution of love. And so keep in mind that this all occurs at the individual level as well. And so that's what these 5 wheels within the wheel in the center are emanating from the Star of Wonder are all about. Star of Wonder, Star of Light. It's about a new way of creating structures and systems and being in formation as a people, as we respond in love, with love, through love, to the needs of humanity, of the global society, and then do that within each nation and community and on every level. And this is what is going to define us as we move forward. And so these 5 wheels are like the gift the gift of God. They are new ways of being that will allow us to support new ways of seeing, new ways of being, new ways of freeing ourselves more throughout society. And it will be a time when we see like never before the beauty of humanity and the light that we can be to one another when we come into an attitude of humility and service, and that is strong, that is strength, that is true strength. And so I will stop there, and I will see you tomorrow for the first of the 7 gates of transformation.